Some slightly easier riffs that you'll need this week. We're going to be working on a couple of Beatles songs. In particular, on Wednesday, we're probably going to have a go at Dear Prudence by the Beatles. It's in a key of D. It's written by John Lennon while they were in India on a bit of a kind of holiday, meditative retreat, where they only had acoustic guitars, so it wasn't like other Beatles records that were shaped by a full band in the studio. And he'd been listening to people like Bob Dylan and Donovan, acoustic guitar players. So his version, I think, went a bit like this. As you can see, it's a little bit tricky. He's playing like a bass part, he's playing an arpeggio at the top. It may be that he was using an open tuning that made it slightly easier to play. But we're doing a kind of full band arrangement, so our fingers won't need to be kind of manipulated quite as much. The basic chords are a D to a D7th, to a G, to a G minor. But the way we'll voice them to keep a kind of D note drone going through, the other thing was he's been inspired a bit by Indian music that have kind of open string drones. We're going to go D to this version of a D7th. Imagine you've got like a bar chord D7th like that, but we're only going to we'll keep the D string open. You can use either your little finger or that finger, and these three are pressing down the top highest strings. So we're putting that in there. It's B7 with either finger. Then we're going to drop down to a mini bar on fret 3, but initially put our first or middle finger there on fret 4 of the G string. And that creates a G chord, but with a D in the bass, and then we lift that off to make G minor, keeping the D in the bass. So listen to this. Okay, and it sounds quite nice when sort of either finger picked or arpeggiated. A lot of kind of British band music in the mid-60s by people like the Beatles and the Stones, the Kinks, and in America bands like the Byrds. A lot of the guitar riffs were based on arpeggios of chords. So that's kind of what the ballpark we're in now. So those 4 chords, initially all you need. You'll need a kind of a standard D chord, almost played in a rock style. We might put this C chord shape in, which normal C would be like that. Imagine your little finger tucked under on B3 there. I tend to do it that way around. And again, it's like a suspended C where we're keeping the D ringing, and then to that G with both those fingers pressed down. It creates a nice. So that'll be kind of at the climax of the verse, we'll go, Dear Prudence. So there's your kind of John Lennon part, if you like. His little riff, George Harrison all the way through, I think, on the record, is just doubling up this little kind of arpeggio at the top. It's the B and G string on fret 7 with an open D note chord ringing off the D string. By itself might sound boring, but as the chords change beneath it, those suspensions will sound quite nice. You could even possibly hit the kind of harmonic. Rest your finger on fret 7 very, very gently, and you can create that lovely pinging noise. But as we go into what might be a guitar solo, we're going to kind of use a George Harrison technique that again came from sitar playing. We're going to kind of have our D string droning, and we're going to play a melody on the G string and move up and down the G string, but keeping the D string ringing. Okay, so here's a riff. Slightly more lead guitar, sitar sound on my guitar. basically the melody is going 7, and we're going 11, 12, 14 on the G string. As we hit the 14 on the G string, I'm also putting my ring finger on B15, which creates a sort of D chord. It's almost like a D chord, an octave high. Okay. Putting quite a bit of vibrato on the wobble as well to create a kind of, again, a more kind of sitar-ish sound. And the answer to that is just this little hammer on the G string, 11 and 12. Back to where we started. 1, 2, 3, 4. Occasionally maybe a little bend. But relatively kind of simple part. See if you can get your fingers around that before Wednesday, please.